So my challenge for each of us is to lean into mastery by adopting that mastery mindset. Because I've got it like this. We can have, and I don't know if you can see this, we can have misery, mediocrity, or mastery. Two of these is really easy, and one of them is really hard, challenging, yeah? So misery, it's easy. It's easy to be miserable. Just complain. Just focus on what's not working. Just, eat whatever you want to eat. Just be a victim. Quit. That stuff, be a quitter. That stuff's easy. It's easy to be miserable. And it's also, and by the way, I'm talking to you individually, but I'm also kind of talking to a company or a company, not yours in particular, but company cultures can be miserable, right? They can foster a misery mindset. They can foster a miserable culture and environment to work in. So, but it's really easy. It's also easy to be average. It's easy to be mediocre. It requires less effort. Just stay complacent, settle for average, just, play small. Because by playing big, you risk a lot. You risk failure. You risk ridicule even. So just avoid those at all costs. Just stay complacent, stay in that comfort zone. Mediocrity is easy. Mastery. Mastery, I wrote a book called Positive Thinking is for Sissies. Not that positive thinking is a bad thing, but for some people it's like, there's a silver lining in every cloud. When one door closes, another one opens. It's kind of fluffy, airy-fairy kind of thinking. Mastery is for warriors, because mastery requires you to look in the mirror and own your stuff and begin to move beyond your stuff. So mastery, let me back up 1 second and talk about mediocrity for a second. Mediocrity and misery. The thing is, they're easy, but if we choose to stay in them, then there's something inside of us. There's something inside each human being that craves growth, that craves expansion, that wants us to be more today than we were yesterday, and more tomorrow than we are today. And that's something, when we're just being average, it catches up with us. At some point, we realize there's something, our soul is kind of suffering a little bit, because our soul wants to grow. We want to expand. We want to become more. And desiring that kind of evolution and growth requires mastery, and mastery requires it, because mastery really is about what? It's about becoming more. It's about expanding our consciousness, our mindset, the way we do things, our identity, how we show up. These things are all speaking to the master's spirit or the master's heart. So mediocrity and misery won't cut it. We're growth-seeking beings. So to go beyond your workday, to go beyond who you are, your mode of operation, to go beyond to go beyond your identity, your present concept of who you are, yourself, that's mastery. That's leaning into mastery. So I want to give you a few components of mastery that that distinguish the master from the student, that distinguish the master from everyone else. And understand, again, when I'm talking about mastery, I'm talking about, you can be a master at digital marketing. That's awesome. But again, the lines are blurred. So I'm also talking about life mastery. I'm also talking about self-mastery. Because here's the thing. What's the one thing you bring with you everywhere you go? Into every conversation, into every relationship, into every conversation with a client and with your coworkers. What's the one thing you bring with you? Is you. And so self-mastery is really important, because when you're bringing the fullness of who you are, when you're bringing your best self, then you're bringing, whatever you do and how you do it will be different, because you're bringing more of you to the equation. And more importantly, when you look in the mirror, who are you bringing with you before you go to sleep at night? Yourself. And if something in you knows that you're either being complacent or that you're seeking that growth, that something deep inside of you really craves. So here's the questions to begin bringing more of who you are to your work and to your life. What would happen if your best self is the self that shows up to those conversations? What would happen? How would things change? What would happen to your relationships, to your life, to your work days, your work weeks, your conversations? What would happen if, you were being more masterful and bringing the more of you to those things? I'll tell you what would happen. Those things, those conversations, those relationships, those days would welcome it. They would welcome you. When we give more to the world, when we're showing up with more and have more to give, the world gives more back to us. And it's true for a company too. When a company is giving more of who they are and what they are, then the world gives more back to that company. That's a universal principle. It speaks to the law of circulation. So I want to give you one distinction that maybe or maybe not you're aware of, or maybe you've never heard it the way I'm going to say it. But the distinction between a master and everyone else is love. And you're like, huh? What? Everybody loves. I don't have to be a master to love. No, what I'm talking about is this. Try to remember this. You might want to write this one down. You will not let yourself master anything that you don't truly love. And that includes yourself. When I'm talking about self-mastery, if you don't have some esteem, some regard, some love for yourself, you won't be interested enough in yourself and how you're showing up to let yourself master yourself. And life is the same way. If you're not in love with life, if you don't have some reverence for life, you won't be interested in necessarily mastering life. A piano player, they love music. A master piano player loves music. They love playing the piano. They love creating music. And if they didn't, they wouldn't let themselves master the piano. They might be interested enough to be good at it or good enough, but that's really mediocrity, isn't it?